again, you'd either rather lean in and learn on some of these applications versus, kind of say, well, I could wait a year or two and see how it happens. Well, unfortunately, you may then be compromised. The competitive environment is tough in every industry right now. And so if you're one that's on the second half of the bell curve on adoption on this, you may find yourself in a situation where you don't have the money to invest in a few years because your competition's already beat you out.
Welcome to the Manage Self, Lead Others Leadership podcast with Nina Sunday for experienced and aspiring people managers. This show will help you explore ways to become a more intentional leader. Each episode, host Nina Sunday speaks with some of the brightest business minds on the planet who share a passion to elevate and transform team culture. Workplace culture hides in plain sight. Is yours flourishing? Join the movement to make your workplace a better place to work. Are you ready? Because it's time to manage self, lead others.
Michelle Tinsley is transforming enterprise customers with data science, AI, and software engineering talent. An experienced leader with an extensive background in retail, fintech, and startups, and board member and angel investor, Michelle has a history of bringing the value of technology to industries. A strong C-suite professional, skilled in management, business development, finance, manufacturing, and competitive analysis, Michelle gets the career best out of teams. Welcome, Michelle Tinsley.
Thank you for having me, Nina.
Yes, or beaming in all the way from the USA, and you're such an expert in implementation of AI in the corporate sector. I really wanted to talk with you about what you do and what you find teams are not doing that they should be doing. So where would you like to start?
Well, sadly, every AI journey usually starts with let's look at your data basement, meaning how clean is your basement? And sadly, a lot of companies have grand ideas. We're going to do all these magical things with AI. Our board or our CEO is telling us we have to go implement it quickly. But when they start looking at what data they actually have, it's not in a format that they can use it very easily. It may be stuck in a 10 or 20-year-old database that's not easy to get the data out. It's not organized, and they haven't thought about data governance, like who should have rights to be able to see this type of data. So it's not super exciting to say, let's start with a data cleanup project. But if you're going to do AI right, a lot of times that's what we need to do. Now we can contain the cleanup with part two, which is let's look at what use cases are going to drive value for your business. They sometimes look at the price tag of doing AI, and it could be, 6 figures or a few $1 million. But if you're talking 10, 20 million or hundreds of millions of dollars someday of benefit that you're getting out of being more automated and seeing the business value, then again, you should be willing to invest that in your business. We just cite a PwC survey of CEOs that came out in June. 60% of CEOs said if we do not reinvent our company and the way we are doing things in the next 4 years, we will be obsolete and our company will not be solvent. And so it really is an imperative that every industry, even ones that have historically been heavy industry, construction, manufacturing, these are all the places where AI will definitely have an impact.
So what sort of data are we talking about, and what sort of AI applications are we talking about?
Yeah, so if we use kind of an example of a case study we've done with a previous client, they were getting a lot of false alarms on an oil pipeline to go send a technician to go check, because you can't just let your pipeline keep leaking. You need to assume that every alarm and alert is real. And what they started finding was they were sending human beings out on a wild goose chase for a lot of false alarms. And so we looked at their data, which was from the pipeline, the signatures of how pumps were behaving. Again, once we got tapped into that data and organized it in a way that they could start using it, we applied some large language models to it and did some machine learning. And essentially what came out was a software software, dashboard that ran on top of their data that would alert them when it was truly a real pipeline leak. They reduced the amount of signals or alarms that were going off by 90%. So literally this project paid for itself in weeks. It was so successful, the company actually spun out the software technology and created a company around it to sell it to the rest of the oil and gas industry. So those are, again, an example of a transformative thing. But, we've also done work with a law firm where we looked at their CRM or their customer data and said, based on the signatures of what customers you ended up winning a deal with and the ones you ended up losing a deal with, we could predict sooner which customers were not going to make it through the funnel. And maybe those are the lower priority ones that your salespeople work on. If you're at a capacity with your sales team where you just can't handle everything, let's focus on the highest quality things in your pipeline instead of focusing on everything evenly. And so really kind of adding some data science to that. And that's just more of a customer facing example. But, again, it could be something around worker productivity, the way that the workers are doing their work. Could we automate that, or again, have predictability to how things are processed?
If your organization invests money and become an early adapter, you become not only a case study, but the role model, and you can actually on-sell that skill to others in your industry. So become an early adapter is the message there.
Yeah, again, you'd either rather lean in and learn on some of these applications versus, kind of say, well, I could wait a year or two and see how it happens. Well, unfortunately, you may then be compromised. The competitive environment is tough in every industry right now. And so if you're one that's on the second half of the bell curve on adoption on this, you may find yourself in a situation where you don't have the money to invest in a few years because your competition's already beat you out.
One of the companies, well, actually more than one company that I've worked with, where they sell parts, right? And parts are lots of different warehouses around the country. And the biggest complaint from the end user, being the teams that I'm delivering customer service to, say, yeah, but we're always finding that there's no stock. There's no stock on the shelf.
Again, that's a great application in the supply chain arena, and the constant struggle that people in supply chain face is the most efficient stockpile, so to speak, would be one giant mountain of inventory in one location that you would then ship to anywhere and everywhere, right? But the problem is shipping to anywhere and everywhere from one location can be both expensive as well as time consuming. And a lot of companies are trying to face a very quick delivery window to the client. So they're trying to balance that 24-hour shipping with, okay, now we got 8 piles, let's say in Australia, of inventory, so that we're within a day's shipping of any major metro center where the populations are located. So in this case, the data pools you'd be looking at is order patterns from various populations. You'd be looking at predictability of transport delivery times and looking at different modes of transportation as well. And so again, that's the beauty of AI, is it can handle all that complexity, where a human brain after 6 or 7 options may be like, well, I've lost track of trying to keep that all going in my head, so that's why we kind of program it into the software, get it to lay it out. But at the end of the day, it is that constant battle. I say what a lot of the supply chain challenges we're facing now are kind of an overcorrection to 10 years ago. The big thing was Lean Six Sigma, and people want to get their inventories as lean as possible. Well, nobody predicted the black swan effect of COVID and that massive whiptail it did to global supply chains. And so because of that, I think now people are correcting back to saying, yeah, it's probably better to have 2 days of safety stock on most of our high flying items so that we're sure to guarantee that service level to our customer.
So, Michelle, I'm sure there are people listening here today that are going, who is your company, and who in my company, what role, what title, business title, should I be getting to be speaking with you and your team to sort of get assessed on where we're at and what we need to do next? I mean, we've still got lots to talk about, but I'm going,
Sure.
oh, how do we get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I am the CEO of a company called Sayeda. We've actually been founded quite a while ago in 2008, but we were branded Sayeda in 2019 when we were purchased by a private equity firm. And essentially, our charter is to go out and deploy productivity, value creation software for our clients. Now, the bulk of that lately tends to be in the data and AI space, but we've also done mobile apps, we've done robotic process automation. So really, it's getting in and doing discovery with our clients to figure out what is their need, what is their business case, what's their budget. We typically work with Fortune 1000 companies, larger companies, and in those realms, we work a lot with heads of engineering. We work with the chief information officer, the chief data officer. They may have a head of business transformation. A lot of times these folks get the title and the job, but they don't have a giant army of resources. And so what we do is work with them to either deliver what they need as a consultative, software product that they wholly own, or we go in and we can augment their teams with, say, 6 months or 12 months of horsepower. And the cool thing is we've already done 25 AI implementations. And so we're kind of bringing that base of experience with us. It's not our first rodeo, is what we like to say. But obviously, we will work with mid-market companies as well, because, again, we know a lot of times those, few hundred million revenue companies are actually ones that move quicker. And in those cases, a lot of times we're brought in by the CEO or the COO because they see where the productivity can be held. And they, again, have that owner's philosophy of, I've got to transform my company or I won't be here in 4 to 6 years.
So you're saying also that a lot of people have their data in the cloud, and that can be a bit of a challenge.
And no, actually, if they're in a more modern architecture, like their data is in a cloud in a centralized data warehouse, that makes it easier to get to. But actually, it's really around kind of the API rights. That's an application protocol interface is what we mean by API. But it's basically are they ready to be tapped into, or do we have to create those portals to begin with? Do we have to create the secure APIs to get in there and get at the data?
Now, can I just share with you a quote by Seth Godin that I frequently tell my teams that I'm delivering training to, or if I'm delivering a conference presentation. AI is the biggest change in our world since the invention of electricity, a bigger change than the internet. If you're not using it for half an hour a day, you don't understand. You should. You need to put it on your calendar and go use it. Let that sink in for a moment. So that's usually my advice to just individual contributors and managers of small teams, because these teams, if you've got the enterprise level restructure and transformation, but you've also got what small teams can be doing. So they're not left back in the 20th century. They're moving into the 21st century, and we're well into it now.
Absolutely. And what you're seeing is entire new job descriptions pop up, like prompt engineering, which is you can get out of AI what you put in. And again, what I'm talking to with data is it could be garbage in, garbage out. If you don't ask the prompt to do it correctly, and sometimes it takes writing something over 7, 8 times to get to the right result that you're looking for. Obviously, these models will keep getting better and better as they add more functionality and get trained. But really, that thought is you have to almost start thinking. I always look back to the days of the browser when Google first came out over 20, 30 years ago. People would be like, oh great, there's a search bar, but what am I typing in it? And so learning how to do and I want this and that and location of this, then you're going to start getting more honed in results for what you're looking for. It's kind of, as a leader, you have to carve out time to be strategic. In this case, yes, learn enough about AI, understand how it might affect your work team, your products, your customers, how you sell, how you manufacture. But at the end of the day, it could be daunting for, say, a first line manager to say, I'm not going to reinvent, my manufacturing process at my company. But you may have the great ideas that they look upon for how we might start that journey with some experiments, some proofs of concept to, again, start bringing some of these ideas to the forefront versus saying, okay, well, it's not my problem to solve. I'll just keep doing things the way I have, because to me, that is the recipe for disaster. I'm never done learning. I mean, I'll probably be learning coming 20 years from now, hopefully. Yet I do think we're still in very early days. Some people say fast forward 20 years, there won't be any jobs. We'll just pay people to be a human being and exist, and therefore AI will do
Oh,
everything. And I'm like,
I
I
don't
don't
think
trust
so.
that. Yeah, I think that's kind of doomsday. I think it's more it will be a very powerful tool that we will use. Jobs will absolutely change. But we've been talking about AI for almost 15, 20 years now. So, yes, it's starting to move even faster with the generative, generation of AI, but there's still going to be lots of different varieties of AI and still lots of places to find value with it.
And one of the tactics for innovation is to identify the top 20% of constraints that are hindering progress, that are the roadblocks. So it seems to me that if you were going to consult with somebody from an organization, that would be the first question. What are your top constraints? And it would help if
Absolutely.
they've already identified them.
Yes. It's what are your pain points? Where are you losing yield? Where are you losing time? A lot of organizations, their most precious resource is their workers' time. And so, again, as a first line manager leader, you can always ask your team, where could we be more productive? If, Magical Fairy were to come in here and improve what we do, what is the time wasting stuff that just we're not excited about? And that's where people would love to deploy tools because there is a bit of this fear factor of like, wow, we automate this, maybe they won't need me anymore. But I go, no, what it's going to do is turn the job into something where you've got all these detractors that you have to do and get those off your plate and let you focus on the work that you love.
Look, I really am interested to hear you say that fear might prevent people from moving forward, thinking that AI is going to replace them. You can make yourself indispensable by being the AI expert in your organization. And what happens
Exactly.
is you'll rise to the top because what you used to do will be done by other people being promoted because you'll be promoted into the high value C-suite area. And if you're even if you're the CEO, you might get to be CEO of Europe instead of the CEO of your state. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think those, again, growth opportunities kind of come out in the strangest way sometimes because you throw yourself into learning and saying, hey, what's the worst that can happen? I learn a new skill and I take it with me.
Well, what advice now can you give to anyone listening that is keen to clean up their data, maybe get in touch? Like how many people are in your organization that can actually act as a consultant? I mean, how many?
We literally have a database with over 32,000 people in it.
Oh,
They're not all AI and data experts. Some of them are more like front end developers, scrum masters, so I look at it and go, our capacity is untapped. What we usually have to work on is more the sales funnel and getting very crisp on what does that client want and what are they willing to invest to upgrade their business. And so once we get very clear on that, we can fill roles within weeks and get started. To me, our limiter right now is just our sales capacity. Yeah.
I had a feeling I was talking to one of the top honchos in the AI space. Well done. And so, your role, just tell a little bit more about your role at, how do we say the company's name again?
Data. It's a mix of science and data. So
Oh,
that's,
right,
yeah.
Cyada. Got it. Yes.
Yeah. So basically as CEO, I get to kind of play, the I go where is needed, the utility player. So whether it's providing funding for the company, like one of our big projects was just securing a new lender for a company revolver. We're doing some M&A activity. So it's evaluating other companies that we may go acquire to say, are they a fit? Are they going to bring enough value to what we're looking to do? Are they aligned to our vision and our strategies? I led the team through our first ever vision and strategy session in July. But I'm also lead salesperson right now. I'm also putting some marketing out there, so it's what I love about it is no 2 days are the same, no 2 weeks are the same. But we're definitely, growing immensely. I mean, we're up over 10x on earnings just from when I started. So that's exciting to see. And then it's building the team and coaching my leaders so that they can take on and I can delegate more to them. So they're getting new experiences. They're equally excited about their jobs. And that then again, back to me, provides me capacity to go do different things.
I have a feeling your organization is on the cusp of just massive growth. A bit like Google once in 2002 was really just a small company of a few hundred engineers, and then it grew into a mega organization. I have a feeling your organization is on a similar path. What do you think?
I sure hope so. That's my job. I was brought in to basically say, let's ramp the heck out of this thing. And, being owned by private equity a few years from now, we will definitely, exit to a bigger party. But, to me, we don't get there without providing a lot of value for our customers to where they want to come back and keep using us. And yet for the workers that do the work, it's creating an environment where they know that they're doing great work that's having an impact, but that we're treating them well while they're doing it.
That's lovely. Lovely, Michelle. Look, let's close with another story or another case study, because the ones you gave were just help me and the listener visualize what it is we can do to be in alignment with the AI revolution.
Sure. So I think one that we're working on a concept right now with a client is, and they're kind of in the escrow space, and they deal in multiple languages. So today they have a team that's English speaking, and they have a team that's Spanish speaking. And so they're trying to cobble together literally a system from 1990s and do their job productively. And what they're finding is there's a lot of errors. And so we're working with them initially on just a customer portal to where the customer in their own language can enter the data. So there's no telephone game of going through a translator. And then once it's into that now nicely organized data structure in a modern web app, we can basically start doing some analytics on that. And we go, yes, in the future, we could even take a mobile app off of that. So how cool would that be if the realtors in these various geographies in their own language to see the information and data at their fingertips on a smartphone instead of today, it's only accessible on a laptop back at the office on the 1990s software. So, that's the kind of modernization we're doing. We haven't yet gotten into the big data, to be fair. We're just trying to help them organize and unify their data architecture right now.
Well, that's very exciting. I'm really glad you explained it in a nutshell. I can now visualize exactly what's happening now, and I think the listeners too. So any closing remarks before I say thank you very much, Michelle?
Oh, sure. No, I look at this and go, life is just a journey and you got to enjoy the ride you're on. But, after 20, 30 years in tech, I'm still learning. And I hope people really embrace that and say, what could I do to harness the technology and help me enjoy my career path?
Yeah. Well, it's been marvelous spending time with you today. Thank you for carving time out of your busy schedule. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you again in C-Suite Network, which is where we met.
Sounds good. Yes. Thank you, Nina.
Thanks, Michelle. All the best.
Okay.
Well, wasn't Michelle Tinsley's case studies exciting? And doesn't it fill you with incredible expectation for the future? I really appreciate the CEO of a very large organization helping enterprise corporations get their organization reinvented through AI in the right way. I thank Michelle Tinsley from Sciata, and you can find her on LinkedIn. I've certainly got the link in the show notes. My name is Nina Sunday. I'm your host of Manage Self, Lead Others, and I really enjoy bringing the best of the best experts in the world to you. So put a comment on LinkedIn and tell me or direct message me. What's a speaker that you'd like to hear from? What's a topic you'd like to hear about? And thanks for listening. And until next time, bye for now.
Nina Sunday is on a mission to help leaders transform culture. To book Nina Sunday CSP to speak at your conference, visit ninasunday.com to request a proposal. Nina travels from Brisbane, Australia for in-person presentations Australia-wide. Twice certified virtual presenter, Nina Sunday presents virtually, globally, for any time zone.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.